Okay, welcome to this month's Heart Doodling with Jesus workshop. Today we're going to look at kind of the how we cope when things get hard. What do we try and escape to, and how do we build a place of hope instead? So I'm going to open in prayer and then we'll get started. So, Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this opportunity to come and connect with you. And I just pray that you would bless our time and bless my words to convey. Um, how to use this heart doodling process in the powerful way for transformation and renewing your mind that I'm seeing it as, that I've experienced it as, but that would just come through clearly in this workshop. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so what we're going to do for our first heart doodle is we're going to start with drawing a box, and we're going to ask the Lord to give us a picture of what it looks like when we are tempted to, or when we choose to escape, or we try to protect ourselves when things are hard. So maybe for you, it's when someone's going to be upset with you, whether that's your kids or your spouse or people at church, or um, maybe when there's something to grieve or you're confused, like when Jesus died. Well, I guess after he had risen again and he told them to wait. And now I'm getting my story mixed up. I should have looked it up. But they go fishing. They're like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to go back to what I know. I'm going to go back to fishing. And we have things that, like, when I was a kid, it was safer to just kind of disappear and not get anybody's attention. So when things get hard, or relationships are hard or whatever, that's kind of my go-to of like, I want to go back to disappearing. And for me, the Lord has shown me that image of a turtle. Like I just want to pull back into my shell. And I have a friend that she's like, I go to the well, like I'm down at the bottom of this pit, and like that's where I want to go. I want to go where nobody can find me and I can't get hurt. And so ask the Lord to give you a picture of what is your escape, and not like, well, when I want to escape, I scroll on my phone or I do whatever, but like what's the picture of, so for me it's pulling back into my shell. So I'm going to have a little turtle, and I'm going to call, you can title yours Escape. I'm also going to add turtling because that's what the Lord has been. I guess that wouldn't have an E there. But anyway, that's what the Lord has been calling it for me when I'm tempted to, like, I just want to pull in and shut down and I don't want to use my voice and I don't want to make any waves. Um, it's turtling. So just make a simple doodle of whatever picture the Lord shows you. I think I'm just totally pulled back in my shell. And then we're going to journal about when you do that, when you do partner with the wanting to escape, and you do pull back. What are you feeling and what are you thinking? And the reason that I want to walk you through this is we're going to do this one of looking at what does it look like and feel like when we escape. The next one is going to be what does it look like and feel like when we're tempted to escape? So we can start to build that awareness of like, oh, this is what's happening. This is what's going on for me. And this is what I need so that I can not be a turtle. And so then that will be our third one is how is the Lord saying you can show up? So for me, he's like, you're not a turtle. Your options aren't to like stick your neck out and get stepped on or to pull back in your shell. Like those aren't your options because you're not a turtle. You're a lighthouse. And so that's where the hope comes of having that picture of how the Lord sees us and how does that feel and how are we thinking And I've found that to renew my own mind, it's far more helpful to be very specific about what needs to be changed than to just add new. Like it's good to just focus on the truth, and that will work if you can stay focused on the truth. But I find that getting specific about the stuff that's in the way and that needs adjusting or needs eliminating makes that process faster. So that's why I want you to take the time to, like, when I escape, this is what I feel, this is what I'm thinking. Um, and I think we'll ask, what do I need? And um, as always, you can go back and forth between the painting and the journaling and really take the time as you draw in your box, as you take the time to paint your entire box, to sit with those feelings and thoughts. Okay, so I had feelings like feeling sad, scared, hurt, unimportant. And then as I was painting, realized that as I sit with like, what does it feel like when I'm sitting in my shell? Like there's shame and regret. Um, because that's part of what the Lord has been showing me is like when I was small, it was safe to retreat into the shell and not show up. That was kind of needed. But now that I'm an adult, that's not really okay anymore. And so when I pull myself back into my shell, I'm, for one, trying to protect myself instead of trusting that He will protect me. But I'm also um, recognizing that it's hurting myself when I choose not to use my voice, when I shut myself down instead of speaking up, even if somebody else is going to disagree or it might be a hard conversation or something. And so there's that regret of like, oh, I know I'm supposed to be standing up. I know I'm supposed to be taking up space, and I just shrunk back again. So I'm going to check with who is here live, and then we'll move on to our next one. Okay. Um, for our second one, we're going to look at I forgot my regular stuff today, so I'm borrowing a friend's stuff. We're using regular paper. Um, or I guess it's watercolor paper, but it's different paints and everything. So just shows that your supplies don't make it or break it. So the second one is going to be looking at when you choose your escape. So I have the friend that does the well, person that's here live had like built themselves a bunker, kind of like this brick room, that when they're protecting themselves, they like brick up the door too, and then it's keeping good things out. Um, but you start with your box, so you don't have to worry about what goes on the page. You're just going to put a box, and I'm going to call mine Tempted to Turtle, and you can just call yours Tempted because we have that option to be tempted and not to give in. And what I find for myself is I have to be aware of what tempts me and kind of like what's the process that goes beforehand before I can start to, I guess, to like have the awareness that I'm even being tempted because so often it was like discovering that I've already blown it is when I realized there was a problem. Like I didn't have the awareness to see that I was being tempted. So in a way, I couldn't make a different choice because I didn't even recognize that there was a choice. So that's why this process feels really powerful to me is they're slowing down and looking back at times where like, okay, I've already blown it. What are the signs I could have seen? So I can build my awareness so I might see them next time and catch it sooner and sooner and sooner until when the temptation comes like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that. I have other options. So when you're tempted to turtle, what are the things that you're feeling? I feel, I think, um, and you would probably be helpful to list um, what tempts me. And I'll keep mine kind of generic because I'm putting it out here publicly, but make yours as specific as possible. If there is a specific person, there's specific situations where like maybe you're fine for most things, but there's this one person or there's this one circumstance that just gets you. Like, write that down so that we can sit with the Lord with that of like, what is it that I need here? Why does this hang me up like it does? Um, and I think my picture is just going to be my turtle with my head like peeking out just a little bit. Like I'm tempted to pull it back in, but I haven't pulled it back in yet. And obviously, whatever the Lord shows you, there's no right or wrong with it. It's just what is he speaking to you about? Like what's going on when you feel that temptation to shrink back in your cell or to shell or to wall off from people. Um, and again, like protection itself isn't bad. It's when I'm trying to protect myself instead of trusting the Lord's ways and his ability to protect me. And I encourage you, can't talk and spell at the same time, to go deep. So as I was thinking about this and thinking like, well, my first thought I'm aware of might be that, well, they're going to be upset. But then ask yourself, like, so what? So what if somebody's upset with me? And when I'm like in my lighthouse mode, my spirit-led mode, it's very easy to be like, that's okay. It doesn't matter what people think of me. When I'm in this tempted to turtle mode, it's not. It's like terrifying that somebody would be upset with me. And so to go like, well, they would be upset with me. That's terrifying. Why is that terrifying? Well, because if they're upset with me, then they're not going to want me around. They're going to reject me. They're going to abandon me. And when this turtle, like tempted turtle, is super strong, it's like it's really terrifying that like if I'm abandoned, if someone rejects me and abandons me, like that's the end. It's over. And it's really irrational. It's kind of crazy how intense it is. But that also lets me know if like there's a place that needs healing and ministry from the Lord to be able to be like, oh, I'm fine. The whole world can reject me and I'm okay because God will never reject me. But just thinking that doesn't work when am so tensely feeling um terrified. So I hope that makes sense of like keep asking of like, well, why does that matter? Why does that matter? And don't worry about if it's completely irrational because like I said, my feeling like absolutely terrified that someone would be upset with me is completely irrational. But those emotions are still there for a reason that likely from the time I was too small to take care of myself, so that if I had been abandoned, it would have been the end. That fear of being abandoned came in and still needs to be uprooted, or that place needs to be healed, or however the Lord wants to deal with that. Um, and as always, you can reach out to me in the messages on the school community, or you can post in the community to get feedback on, like, okay, this is kind of what came up, but it doesn't make any sense to me, or I don't know what to do with it. Um, and I would expect, especially if you're going through something like this for the first time, there's going to be a lot of things come up that you need to sit with the Lord with. And this, we'll talk about that more in our last doodle. And thinking about the things that tempt you, like for me, disagreement is a big one. Um, Being wrong, and even more than being wrong, being misunderstood or being misrepresented, having someone think something of me that I don't think is true of me. And feeling threatened and scared and unsure and confused and powerless because like that confusion sets in of like, okay, what I've known to do for my whole life is just pull back in the shell and let the others take up all the space because I'm not that important and it's not worth having somebody be upset with me. But realizing that's not what healthy relationships look like. The Lord wants me to care about others' needs as I care for my own needs, not instead of caring for my own needs. But then there's the confusion of like, what does that look like? And am I being selfish? And um, just all of that thought storm that can come up for me. And if I say things like that and you're like, "Oh, I want to know more about that, like just again, let me know in the community so that I can elaborate or um, even do a workshop on some of those things if it needs to be slowed down more or something because I realize like I do this all the time. I've been doing it for a long time. So there might be a sense of that I'm moving through it too quickly for you. And so that would be good feedback. It would be helpful for things to be slowed down. And I guess another good thing to add on this page of like what tempts you, but also like, and it could go in the what you're thinking, I guess, of like, why are you tempted? Of like, so I guess it would go in if it's helpful to ask yourself the question, why am I tempted to pull back in my shell? That might get you different answers. Um, or putting it in what you think of like, I'll get hurt, or I guess kind of talked about that, they'll abandon me. I asked why do I want a turtle? And it's to protect myself, to keep others happy, to not make a mistake. And that one just like I have to just shake my head because if the Lord is telling me to be strong and courageous, if he's telling me to speak up and take up space and that I matter, then I'm making a mistake by turtling. But that feels like the safer mistake, I guess. Um, so we do things like that. So I'm going to check in with who here with who is here live, and then we'll come back and do the final doodle on how we can use this to be building hope. We've kind of been building awareness, and we're going to build hope. All right, for our last heart doodle, we're going to do that building hope. And so for me, and like I said, the Lord's been like gave me that picture of being the turtle and turtling a couple of weeks ago. And through the week, as he was bringing to mind different things, and I was trying to figure out, like, how do I do this? Because being a turtle has become very painful. I know it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So, how do I, like, trying to figure out how to be a turtle differently? And for me, he said, "You're not a turtle, you're a lighthouse." I was like, oh, right. But the interesting thing is for my friend that has the well and for the lady that's on here live today, the Lord isn't saying like, don't come to the well anymore. Don't come to your room that you've built. Just don't leave me out of it. Don't use it as a place to go be by yourself and listen to the enemy's lies and let him talk to you there. Instead, make it a place where it's a safe place because I'm there and you're coming to connect with me in that space. So I think both ways are very cool. Like, so I'm going to call this one Building Hope. And it could be that the Lord wants to change the picture that you had to begin with completely, like for me, from a turtle to a lighthouse. But it also could be that he wants to just say, this space that you've got, like I'm your strong tower, so you can stay in the strong tower. Just make sure that it's mine, you know. So he might just want to shift some things in your original picture, or he might give you something entirely new. Um, he could be saying you're a lioness, or you're the lighthouse, or you're a warrior, like all these different things that speak of power and purpose and your identity in him. Um, and I think, well, he's been using the lighthouse for me for a long time, so it speaks to me. But like if I'm dealing with a hard relational situation, like thinking back to teenagers when like they don't like something you do, and so they lash out with all these things that sound like personal attacks. And if I'm in the turtle mode, then it all feels very personal and hurtful and I just want to, you know, turtle in and feel sorry for myself or sorry, go to the pity party or whatever it is. Um, but when I can remember I'm a lighthouse, then I can be like, no, I'm made for waves. Like all of their emotion and angst and confusion and whatever's going on for them can come and hit me and I'm fine because I'm grounded on the rock. I know this isn't about me. I know I'm here to guide them through this storm. So I show up completely differently than if I feel like I'm this little turtle that's just being trashed and thrown all about by the storm. Um, so as you ask the Lord for that picture of what does it look like, excuse me, to show up as he sees you, as he's made you to show up, what are the things that you're going to feel? what are the things that you're going to think? And spend the time to really sit with that, just like we did on the other one of like, oh, I don't want people to be upset. Well, why and why and why? And so um, some of your things might just be like they need to be opposite thoughts, or it might be like, well, I'm okay. Well, that's a good reminder, but why are you okay? Like, let it go deeper to something that's like, oh, right. It's really something that anchors you because hope is the anchor for a soul. But anchors go deep, they have to go all the way to the bottom. So, really let the Lord speak to you. Um, and I want this last one to be I added the journal prompts, I think. And the last one we're going to do is I need. So when you think like, oh, yeah, this is what it would feel like, it would feel hopeful and encouraging and confident. And this is how it would feel. And I would be thinking, like, I'm made for storms. I can handle this. I'm guiding them through. What do you need to go from where you currently are to be able to show up like you want to show up in the future? So you might need some boundaries. You might need to plan some comebacks or reminders to bite your tongue so you don't engage in the same argument again. Or um, you might need to memorize some scriptures. You might need to put up pictures of, I have like pictures of lighthouses all over my house to remind me, like, this is who I am. So that kind of like practical things. What do you need? Do you need to put this picture of building hope where you read it every morning with your devotions or whatever? Um, so I should be painting while I'm talking. But sort of be getting practical steps. And again, this is something where you might need to come back again and again because maybe there's multiple situations. And so maybe with your teenager, you need one set of things, and maybe in a work situation or a marriage situation or with your parents or whatever, you need something else. And like that's totally logical. And you can do this process again and again and again to sit with the Lord and be like, okay, what are you saying here? What does this mean? What do I need in this situation? Do I just need to spend more time in the well with you, listening to your perspective? Do I need to remember who I am? Um, do I need like healthy communication isn't something I grew up with? Maybe I need to make sure that I actually know what I want to talk about before I start the conversation so that the conversation doesn't get derailed and go all over the place of like um first I can get clear on what I need and what I want and then I can talk or whatever it is that the Lord shows you that you need. And then how all of this helps you to renew your mind is you can come to this safe place with the Lord and practice feeling confident and peaceful and calm. And so if you go through this with a specific scenario, again, I'll say, a fight with a teenager, and you realized, oh, I turtled and I didn't want to do that. Or um, this with my teenagers, maybe I more often exploded than turtled. Um, and that could be a different one. But realizing that, oh, I did this thing I didn't want to do, and go back and go, oh, this is what I needed. I needed to remember that this was the boundary, or I needed to remember that this isn't about me. I needed to see that they're not rejecting me. They're just not sure how to express themselves. And so, like, that's what I need so I can go back in my imagination to the same situation or imagine an upcoming one and see myself being calm and holding space and being able to say, to validate what they're feeling and what they're expressing. And, so imagine myself showing up, feeling like this feels, thinking the things I need to think, and showing up equipped with the boundaries or the conversation skills or the compassion or whatever it is that I need to be able to stay in this place that the Lord has given me. And you can actually practice that so that it feels comfortable, because if you've been like me, you've been a turtle for decades, then it feels a little awkward and you're not quite sure. But with sitting with the Lord, you can practice so that it gets more comfortable, it becomes more familiar, can be renewing your mind of, like, if I thought I don't matter and it's not worth it, to sitting with the Lord where he's saying, no, you matter, and you're called to call others up higher, not just let them get away with stuff, or, whatever your situation is, so that you can receive that healing, that he cares about why you feel like escaping and protecting yourself. And he's there to show up and say, I'm with you in this and I will protect you. It doesn't mean we never get hurt, but in the big picture, everything's okay. And anything bad that happens, he will work to our good if we stay surrendered and partnered with him. No, I'm going to check in with, excuse me, those who are here live, and then we'll wrap up. All right. So I trust that this workshop is helpful and that it's one that you come back to again and again as the Lord reveals, like, how he wants to renew your mind and how that changes how you show up, how you interact with people, how his light can shine through you because you're not walling it off or, pulling back in your shell or trying to disappear so people, like, we're trying to disappear so people can't hurt us. But if we're disappearing, we're also hiding his light. So I look forward to hearing from you, and we will see you next time.